4, 3, 2, 1.
Studio Classroom is Please stand by. Studio Classroom is on the air.
Hey, welcome to Studio Classroom on the air. Your English will improve today. My name is Gabe. Now, what do you think is the meaning of friendship? What does it mean for you to be a good friend or to have a good friend? Do you use the term best friend ever? Well, who are your good friends? Why? And who is your best friend? Why? Talk about that in English sometime today. Our lesson is called The Value of Friendship. It's written by one of the teachers here at Studio Classroom, someone you sometimes see on the SC Challenge, Brandon Bryant. Let's learn about what friendship means to him. Let's do that now.
The value of friendship. Friends make the journey through life more beautiful. Do you ever take friendship for granted? Growing up, I was shy and didn't have a whole lot of friends. In junior high school, I transitioned from a small private school to a much larger public school. This experience proved to be a monumental change for me, as I was now outnumbered in a sea of strangers. While I had some friends at church, at school I was basically a loner. I spent my preteen years on my own.
Hi everyone, I'm Michelle. Welcome to today's Language Lab. 这篇文章第一个重点，我们看 take for granted 这个成语。Granted 是 grant 授予或同意这个动词的过去分词，所以 take for granted 是指认为是理所当然，或者是想当然而当动词片语使用。例如 ，Don't take for granted what your parents do for you。不要把父母为你付出的视为理所当然。如果受词是代名词的话，就放在 take 和 for granted 的中间。例如 Rachel feels that her colleagues always take her for granted. Rachel 觉得她的同事们都把她的付出当作理所当然。或者是 We took it for granted that someone would be home to open the door for us. 我们自以为会有人在家帮我们开门。继续我们看的是 monumental 这个形容词。MON 这个字根有提醒的意思，所以 monumental 在这里是指重大的或巨大的。例如 Educational reform is a monumental task which will benefit future generations. 教育改革是极重大的任务，能够造福未来的世代。Monumental 也指纪念性的，例如 The monumental sculpture of the father of the nation is displayed in the park. 这个公园中陈列着国父的纪念雕像。如果去掉字尾的 al, monument 就是名词，意思是纪念碑、纪念塔或者是纪念馆。例如 The monument was built to commemorate the soldiers who sacrificed their lives in the Vietnam War. 这个纪念碑是为了纪念在越战中捐躯的士兵而建造的。
Thank you very much, Michelle. Friends, let's learn about something very important today through the story of one of our Studio Classroom teachers, Brandon Bryant, and we're learning about the value of friendship. Now, you have seen teacher Brandon Bryant here, especially in the SC Challenge. And so he is a very familiar face and a familiar voice as well. So we're going to be learning all about his story.
That's right. And I find it really interesting that our lesson is called The Value of Friendship because usually when we talk about something having value, that means that you can put a number on it, some sort of monetary value or a price for money. But there really isn't a price for friendship. You can't talk about it in terms of money.
Yeah, you're right about that. We would say it's priceless, right? True friendships are priceless. You couldn't sell them or buy them for anything. They are too valuable. But yes, it's true. There are some things in life that have value, but we can't put a price on them. But we read here, friends make the journey through life more beautiful. And we all have friends, or at least we should, and we all need friends. And of course, we don't pay for true friends.
That's right. And they do make our lives more beautiful, more interesting, and fulfilling. And we read what Brandon writes here. Do you ever take friendship for granted? Maybe you don't appreciate your friends.
That's a good way to put that. That's a good way to rephrase that, right? If you take something for granted, that means you don't really appreciate what you have. You just think, of course, I deserve this. This is part of my life. But you don't think about what you did to deserve it, or the fact that you maybe don't deserve it, but it's there for you.
Right. And Brandon says here that growing up, I was shy and didn't have a whole lot of friends. So he was a shy kid and didn't have many friends.
That's right. So he didn't have a whole lot of friends. That's kind of a fun way when we say a whole lot of something, or I didn't have a whole lot of something. It's a way of expressing the opposite. It's a way of him saying, I didn't have a lot of friends, okay, or I had few friends. He didn't have a whole lot of friends. In junior high school, I transitioned from a small private school to a much larger public school. So we're kind of taking a fast track through his younger years.
That's right. And that can be a hard transition to make, to go from a small school to a larger school, or from any school to another school.
Sure, yeah. Making that transition. Perhaps some of you have had to do that when you move from one place to another. You also have to move to a new school. I had to do that a couple of times in life. I found it very interesting, but I'm an outgoing person, and so it was maybe a little easier for me to get into that new environment.
Yes, for someone who is shy, it might be a little harder. And we read here, this experience proved to be a monumental change for me, as I was now outnumbered in a sea of strangers.
Okay, I love the way Brandon describes this, okay? Now he feels like he's outnumbered. There are a lot of different kinds of people, and they're all strangers. And he describes it as a sea of strangers. Okay, so this is a fun way of saying that you're surrounded by something, or there is a big crowd of something. We could use the phrase a sea of.
Well, if you go to a popular place, maybe a big tourist destination, you might say there was a sea of people outside the museum, so we decided to go somewhere else.
Yeah. You know, I think in Chinese there's an actual saying that says the same thing, right? A sea of people, 人山人海, right?
People mountain, people sea.
Exactly.
So many people that it's like they are the mountains and the sea.
Exactly. There's a sea of people. Okay. While I had some friends at church, at school I was basically a loner. Okay, so he had some friends, but he felt like a loner sometimes. We want to talk about this word loner. It means that you are alone a lot of the time, but it's not the same as the word loser, okay? Don't get those two words confused. A loser is perhaps someone who has made terrible decisions and they don't have a lot of friends for the wrong reasons, okay? Someone who is a loner is just someone who is alone a lot of the time.
Right, and maybe they prefer to be alone. They don't want to have a lot of friends because they're a shy person. Maybe they just want to talk to one or two people. For example, she doesn't have many friends and is considered a loner, but she does like the friends that she has.
And that's a great point. And I think it's, well, this is something that perhaps you can discuss, friends, but I think that it's more important to have a few close, true friendships than it is to have a lot of friends that you don't know really well. But we continue here. I spent my preteen years on my own. And before we continue, let's talk about that phrase, on my own, or on one's own. It's not just the idea of being alone. It's kind of the idea of perhaps being independent or doing things without other people.
Right, so maybe someone asks, do you need help with your homework? You might respond, oh, it's okay. I can do it on my own.
Well, it sounds like Brandon was kind of a little fish in a big pond. And we need to learn about this phrase and something like it in
the Info Cloud.
Hello and welcome to InfoCloud. Joe, you graduated from a small high school, right?
Oh, yeah. I was in a graduating class of only 17 students.
Whoa. You must have felt like a big fish in a small pond.
I did, and that's a great expression to describe that feeling. I felt very important in my school, but when I went to a bigger pond, I suddenly felt very small.
To say that someone is a big fish in a small pond means that a person has more power and influence than others, but only within a limited area.
Right. So in my example, being a senior in a tiny school meant that I had more influence than if I'd been in a normal-sized high school.
Some people prefer enjoying their big fish status in a small pond rather than risk being unknown in a place with more people.
When using this phrase, you're also implying that the big fish would most likely be less important within a larger community or organization.
There are many variations to this phrase. Some will use the word pool instead of pond or frog instead of fish.
You can also talk about the opposite situation in which someone is a little fish in a big pond.
当我们在一个小群体当中成为有影响力的人物，你就可以说 I feel like a big fish in a small pond. 我觉得我是小池塘里的大鱼，意思就是我是这个小圈圈里的大人物。或许在学校当中我们是风云人物，但是出了社会才发现自己原来没有那么厉害。这个时候你也可以用 little fish in a big pond. 大池当中的小鱼来形容自己感觉好像很渺小，因为圈子变大了，自己也变成了小人物。这就是今天的 InfoCloud， 我们下次云端见。
Studio Classroom is on the air.
Welcome back to Studio Classroom, friends. Today we have been talking about something very interesting, and the lesson is about the value of friendship. We're actually learning with the story of Brandon Bryant, one of our teachers here at Studio Classroom. We've learned about how he went from a private school in junior high to a public high school, and he felt like he was outnumbered in a sea of strangers. Well, what about his university experience? What was that like? Let's find out.
The value of friendship. After graduating high school, I moved away to attend university. This was a pivotal point in my life, and in more ways than just one. For the first time, I started to come out of my shell. An important factor contributing to the change was my new environment. Now that I was surrounded by so many of my peers, I started to feel accepted. I felt included and even wanted by those around me. This was a new era for me, relationally speaking. Over the years, I've come to truly treasure this season because of all the tremendous people I was able to meet.
OK， 接下来我们看 pivotal 这个形容词。pivotal 是指核心的或关键的。例如 Michael played a pivotal role in the success of the contract. He did most of the negotiating. 这份合约能成功 ，Michael 在其中扮演了关键性的角色，是他负责了大部分的协商。如果要说明对哪个对象很关键的话，是用 to 这个介系词。例如 This technological breakthrough is pivotal to telecommunication industry. 这个科技的突破对于电信传播产业极具关键性。如果去掉字尾的 al pivot 可以是名词，意思就是指轴心。例如 the wheel turns on a fixed pivot， 这个轮子随着固定的轴心运转。最后我们看的是 come out of your shell 这个成语。shell 原本是指外壳，特别是指水果、坚果或者是动物的壳，所以 come out of your shell 是指不再自我封闭，不再羞怯，或者是愿意与外界接触。例如 Eric seldom talks to others, he needs to come out of his shell. Eric 很少跟别人说话，他需要多与外面的世界接触。或者是 It takes courage to come out of your shell, but it's worth it. 走出自我封闭是需要勇气的，但是是值得的。或者是 Sam finally came out of his shell in 10th grade and became very popular at school. Sam 在10年级终于不再自我封闭，在学校里成为非常受到欢迎的人物。And now let's get back to our teachers.
Thank you very much, Michelle. Well, now we're moving on to Brandon's university years. We read, after graduating high school, I moved away to attend university. This was a pivotal point in my life, and in more ways than just one. So we're going to learn about the different ways that this was a very important change in Brandon's life.
That's right. It's a pivotal point. So that means that there was a turn. Something changed. And we read that for the first time, I started to come out of my shell. And that's a really fun way to say that you start to become more comfortable around other people. Maybe you start to be more outgoing.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm not sure, but I think this phrase comes from the idea of a turtle, or maybe a hermit crab, but I like a turtle, okay? So a turtle often appears very shy when its legs and its head are inside of its shell. And then sometimes he pokes his head out and his legs out, and he comes out of his shell when he's ready to be around people or other animals.
Right. So this idea of coming out of your shell means that you're not afraid or trying to hide or protect yourself from something. You're more open. And that's something that Brandon experienced after going to college.
And so we read, an important factor contributing to the change was my new environment. So why did he feel okay coming out of his shell? That's because of his surroundings, his environment.
Well, I do think that that change from high school to college is quite a big difference.
Yeah.
High school, maybe you know a lot of the people there, you've spent several years with them, and maybe they don't get along with you or you don't get along with them, but then you go to college and the people are different. They don't know who you are, you don't know who they are. It's a new beginning, and you're also older.
You're right. So you're more mature, you're able to establish new friendships in a new environment or a new point in your life. I agree. Well, we continue here. Now that I was surrounded by so many of my peers, I started to feel accepted. All right, let's take a look at two words at the beginning of this sentence. That is the two words now that. Now that, put together. This means since, okay, so in Chinese you might say 既然. But, okay, since is a very general term. Now that, this phrase, is used to contrast the past. Okay, so now that there's something new, since this, then that. Okay, that's how you use the phrase now that.
Right, so there's been some kind of change in a situation. For example, maybe you're waiting for someone to arrive before you begin discussing a topic. So you might say, oh, now that everyone is here, let's begin the meeting. So the change that occurred is the person you were waiting for has arrived. So now you can begin.
That's right. So friends, do you see the difference between the word since and this phrase now that? Now that is a little more specific to talk about the difference between something in the past and now. But it works the same way as the word since. So since I was surrounded by so many of my peers, I started to feel accepted. I felt included and even wanted by those around me. Now those are very similar words, right? Accepted, included, and wanted. Is there a difference between those words?
Well, I think that there are small differences. If someone accepts you, that means they kind of welcome you for who you are, right?
That's right.
They don't expect you to be someone different. And if they include you, that means that you are part of that group.
Yeah, now you're part of the group, okay? And there's another related word he uses here, and even wanted, okay? So wanted is a little bit different from the word accepted. If you accept somebody, of course, you might just be okay with them being there. But if you want somebody, now that's a different feeling, right? To feel wanted is a great feeling.
That's right. So they wanted Brandon to be part of their group. They didn't just think he was okay, they were happy he was there. And we read that this was a new era for me, relationally speaking.
Okay, it's a new point in Brandon's life, relationally speaking. The use of this word speaking here, we want to talk about, pay attention, okay? It's very different from the way we usually use the word speak, okay? There's an adverb in front of the word speaking, and you use this, an adverb in a way, specifically, okay? So that's what the word speaking means, is to do something in a specific way. It's used to describe or modify the previous statement. So this was a new era for Brandon in the way of relationships or relating to other people.
Right, and you could use this with a lot of different words in front of speaking. You could say, generally speaking, so in a general way, or if someone is trying to practice a new sentence pattern, you might say, oh, the sentence is fine, grammatically speaking, but the word choice is a little off.
That's right. So specifically talking about grammatics, it's okay, but maybe there's another problem. Well, we read on here, over the years, I've come to truly treasure this season. Now, that phrase, to come to do something, this means he's grown to or developed to the point of treasuring this season.
And that's because he had all of these tremendous people that he met.
That's right. Well, right now it's time for us to go to a tremendous person with Doris. Let's think about something with Doris.
Who are the true friends in your life? Do you consider all the people in your social media as your friends? You may have thousands of friends in your Facebook, but how many of them are your true friends? A true friend may not be the same as you, or they like all the same things as you do, but they will be a friend when you need them. They will support you and help you when you need help. A friend for life will be loyal and faithful and stick with you through the hard times. They will even sacrifice for you when necessary, so think about it. Who are your true friends? And also, think about what it means to be a friend to others. Friendship helps us through hard times and encourages us in our lives. We all need true friends.
Well, friends, what did you learn today about the value of friendship? Perhaps you're a little bit like Brandon used to be, that is, pretty shy. He used to feel like a loner, but then he came out of his shell and he was able to make some good friendships, and that was due in part to other people accepting him and wanting to be around him. He came to treasure those seasons of his life. Well, what season of life do you treasure, friends? It's important to cherish the moment that you are in. We have more to learn about the value of friendship next time, right here on Studio Classroom.
I am so proud to have you in my life. A good friend lasts a lifetime.